Drake Maye has faced some pretty stiff defenses en route to the Super Bowl. What's one more for the ultimate prize?
And Sam Darnold trying to exercise his final ghost, but not just his own ghosts, but the ghosts of Seattle teams past.
The long road to this point is finally concluded. Super Bowl 60 is upon us. We'll preview the big game on Sunday Scaries with Bucks McGee.
Wow. Almost a long 6 months, and here we are. The final game. Here it is. Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
6 months is kind of hard to believe that that's a football season.
Right? Exactly. And would we have thought that we'd be sitting here talking about Seattle and New England?
Yeah, a rematch that feels kind of surprising.
It really does. But at the same time, it's like we're going back. It's like we went back in time during the season with some of these teams that were, playing well,
Mhm.
and here we are again.
And is it just me, or does it feel like these franchises, despite kind of being used to being in the Super Bowl in recent years, they just feel very fresh. It's like these are complete re-envisionings of the teams we saw have deep playoff runs and Super Bowl runs over and over and over again.
No, I can definitely see that. Though I think New England almost mirrors what they were in their prime more than what Seattle does. Because Seattle, had Marshawn Lynch, but really leaned on their defense in the Legion of Boom. Now, mind you, Russell Wilson was a solid quarterback, but he wasn't slinging it around like Sam does.
No, Russell Wilson just kind of was that, at least at the start of his career when Seattle was at the height, was just kind of his the classic take what the defense gives you type of passer.
And he would hit his spots. He had his receivers, but the weaponry that Seattle has isn't, we've talked about and gloated about. But New England just feels like it's almost I guess a more improved Belichick Patriots. You know, they've got the running backs. You've got the quarterback that usually won't make a mistake. Can deliver the ball where he needs to, and a bend but don't break defense.
Yeah, to that point, it's kind of close to the early Patriots heyday as opposed to the more later Patriots heyday when kind of Brady was a juggernaut, where the old Brady was kind of, you know, his full potential was never really on display.
No, exactly. He would take his shots when he needed to, but he played definitely more within the frame of the offense. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But like I said, it's kind of funny to be talking about New England and Seattle in February.
Yeah. And is it also just me, or was this kind of like the least dramatic, fewest storylines break before the Super Bowl? It almost felt like the offseason had kicked off already, and we're like, we've still got a championship to play for.
Yeah, it was like the coaches took center stage, and it was like, oh yeah, we've got to fill these jobs, and there's all this drama, and then it was like, oh yeah, wait a minute, the Super Bowl hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. It was easy to forget we still got the biggest game of the year to play.
Right? It's like, oh yeah, there's the Super Bowl, and then oh yeah, then the off season really starts. But
Yeah.
it just goes to prove that the NFL is 365 days year round. It's a proven fact now.
That and the Pro Bowl yet again came and went without nearly a stutter.
Oh, you tell me you? Oh man, did you watch that Fiesta? I missed out on that.
I did
Yeah,
not know.
no, no, no. The highlight was Antoine Winfield was defensive MVP. So Tampa brought home some hardware this year, so we're pretty impressed with that. And then the highlight of the game, in the highlights I saw was Micah Parsons on the field in his large scooter riding around on the field, being a coach. I'm like, wow, really? This is what the Pro Bowl's become? They just need to end it. They really do. Just pick
Yeah.
the player, kind of just do like the All Pro awards and then just call it a day.
Yeah. At this point, at this point, nobody's watching it, and it's just silly on the field. Or
Yeah,
just
you
have
put it
it be
on,
like the All-Star Festival. Have it be the games. Just play like the games, but don't try to put some silly game, some silly actual game there.
and you put it on a Tuesday. Like, who cares? It's on a Tuesday.
Yeah,
But it's the NFL, and until otherwise, the NFL is still king.
yeah. Into the game that is king of the season. By the time we get to that point, the Super Bowl 60. LX. And obviously, in today's NFL, quarterbacks are always front and center. So we'll start there. And we'll start with Sam versus the Pats secondary. The Patriots defense, of course, been a little undersung this year. Very, very good, but not getting the credit that they have been.
Mhm.
This is going to be a tall task for them. The offenses that the Patriots defense has faced thus far haven't been very overwhelming of late, to say the least.
You know, yeah, but you can't fault New England either. Hey, man, when the playoffs start, if that's who gets thrown in front of you, so be it. If if Buffalo had done their business, then we very well might be talking about Buffalo. But you know
Mhm.
what? Buffalo didn't handle their business. Unfortunately, weird things happen. Next thing you know, Bo Nix gets hurt. Nobody knows about it till literally an hour after the game, and they got to face Jared Stidham in a blizzard. But hey, if you want to get an easier path to the Super Bowl, tell me what you want, man, because I'll take that all day.
Yeah. What do you think about Sam here against this defense? Because Christian Gonzalez is someone we've talked about in the past as a very good player, but Marvin Mims was able to put some yards on him before the snow started in the championship game. So is that exposing Christian Gonzalez a little bit, which is not the best look going into a matchup against Jackson Smith and Jigba?
I don't think so. And here's the thing. I I think any cornerback worth their salt is going to get burned from time to time. It just happens, And I don't think New England thought that Denver was going to come out trying to sling the rock right off the bat. But I also think that was also Sean Payton's ego saying, "Oh, anyone can do anything in this offense." Yeah, we don't have Bo. That's okay. Jared Stidham can do it. And okay, so Jared Stidham got his couple passes, and then after that, even before the snow, he started falling apart. So I don't think New England is gonna leave Gonzalez on an island
Hmm.
with JSN. I think they'll play. I think it's going to be a situation where, yeah, they're definitely going to match up, but there could be some shell coverage, some stuff like that, some interesting wrinkles. I think you'll see. So I think New England knows what they're going up against. And now, mind you, Sam has had an incredible year, but Sam's got it's one more game, and everyone's sold on Sam. At this point, I think everyone is he's exercised the demons or the ghosts, but New England, they've got a solid pass rush. I think there's, like I said, they've got great corners. They've got speed in the secondary. I think Seattle has height in their secondary. I think New England's got speed as well. So I think it'll be interesting how New England plays that. And I think what will happen is New England's going to force them to go to other guys.
I do want to ask about that, but so you're firmly in the camp now. There is no more questioning Sam. He's long past Jetsitis.
Yeah, like literally, like if he really falls apart in the Super Bowl, then at that point he is what he is. I think you look at him and you say, okay, well, during the regular season, he's solid, but then when the lights are brightest, he can't figure it out. So this is this is the ultimate test, but so far I think he's passed. I think he's way past the what the Jets, did to him, and he's moved on. He's got enough pieces around him where he doesn't have to be the guy. It's just whether he can follow the game plan and put the ball where it needs to go.
And interestingly enough, he was titled by NFL Network as playing in as his second Super Bowl appearance. I was like, second Super Bowl, what? And then I completely forgot that he was Brock Purdy's backup. So technically, he has been through all the fanfare and festivities of a Super Bowl, just hadn't actually played in the game.
Right. So now he's got to be the guy. That's
Yeah.
what it comes down to. He's got to be the guy, and he can't try to do too much, especially if they for some reason fall behind early. He's got to stick within the framework of the offense and just do what he's done all season.
Now as far as the other weapons, it never fails in a Super Bowl that when you have the elite wide receiver, and with 2 weeks for the opponent to prepare for them, sometimes they get locked up. Sometimes they have an average game by their own standards because they're in double coverage or what have you. Or maybe the opponent just so happens to have a shutdown corner that more or less takes them out of the game. So to come back to something you brought before, the other options, who are the kind of best options you think that Sam could go to in the event of a neutralized JSN? Because we've got, I know, one receiver that's got a Super Bowl history, and then a tight end that you oh so like to have mixed feelings over.
And I think that's the guy. I think tight end is going to be key for Sam. I really do. I think New England's going to, of course, key on the run game. Now, mind you, Seattle had a two-headed monster, but now it's just K9 right now. He's got to be the guy, but you don't want to run him into the ground before halftime. So I think the tight ends are going to be key.
For those playing along at home, that is, of course, Mr. AJ Barner.
Yeah, the guy's got talent, but I don't need all the extras. I don't need the extras from AJ. But I think he's going to be key. I believe he'll be key in this game. Jason's going to get his coverage. They've got some other guys. Shaheed. They've got to keep an eye on him for his speed. So that's going to be very important. But I think tight end is going to be extremely important in this game for Seattle.
Well, Shaheed's also someone that could be an X factor in the return game. If this game winds up being a very low scoring due to two top defenses going at each other, a break in the special teams could wind up being what separates them.
Oh yeah, definitely. And New England's got guys who can return the ball as well. So that it's gonna be special teams is going to be extremely important. But at the same time, you don't want guys overthinking things and worrying about making mistakes. You just got to go out there and play. And I think when it's going to come to the special teams, Shaheed, he very at any point can break one. But it's just going to be just focus on what make your tackles, and you just got to live and die with what happens. But the tight ends for Seattle, I think, are going to be big.
As someone who's spent much of their life as a football fan watching players who are used to playing in big spots, do you think we'll get a resurgence of Cooper Kupp, a former Super Bowl MVP here?
You never know. He could be an X factor. Like, it's funny because Seattle's got, when you really sit and look at it, they've got weapons all over the place, but it's just, it's JSN and then everybody else, and everyone fills their niche when needed. So he very well could end up having, the game-winning touchdown, a key third down conversion. He very well could end up being an MVP.
Find that prop bet, Bucks McGee. Cooper Kupp with the go-ahead score, game-winning score.
Yeah, if you bet your mortgages on it and lose, don't come to me. We're not responsible for anything, any losses due to your prop bets.
But if you win, we'll take a 3% finder's fee to fund Sunday Scaries for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I need pens and stationery.
That's right.
I'm working for free here, kids. I need a little something.
On the other side of the offense is Drake Maye, and this is someone that I've really been wrestling with my emotions over. I'm not always the biggest Patriots fan in the world, as we know, but I really do like Drake Maye. I think he's likable. I think he's fun. I think Mike Vrabel is genuine, as opposed to grumbly Gus that was their former head coach.
Wow, man! Just the emotions just always come out in Super Bowl, man. It just lets you out. He sounds like a jilted lover.
A jilted ex-lover left on the doorstep too many times.
That's it, man. That's it. It's okay though. It's okay. You can let the emotions flow. No, Drake May has been great. Second year, he's really coming to his own. In the MVP conversation. Now there are times when I think he tries to do a little too much. He'll take a sack when he should just throw the ball away. But it just always seems there's always like a play or two where he just makes that throw where you're like, that's why the Patriots drafted him. That's
Yeah.
why he's the guy. So he just has to do what he's done all season, not try to do too much. This game especially, they're going to bring the pressure. They're going to bring the pressure like they did in Denver, and he's got to throw the ball away. Don't try to hold on to it and try to make a last minute play. Throw the ball away. Live to play another down. His legs are going to be huge in this game. I really do. I think there's going to be a point where the passing game just may not be there, and he's going to have to scramble. So his legs are going to be vital in this game at some point. Vrabel, got to give the guy his respect. People in Tennessee are probably going to be kicking themselves for the rest of their lives,
Yeah.
and they should have kept him. He's a hell of a coach. I think he's perfect for this team. You can tell that he genuinely cares for his players, and he just wants to win. He was the perfect guy to bring in after they got rid of Drake Maye. He was the guy. So
I,
I got to give him his love, or got to give him respect. He plays hard. He knows what the Patriot way is. He does it his own way. Perfect.
yeah, I mean, with the Tennessee seller's remorse, it's very bad when you consider Mike Vrabel took Ryan Tannehill to a number one seed in the playoffs. So you think give him someone like Drake May, and there's really should be no surprise that he could take him to the Super Bowl, just in spite of the naysayers of their path to get there.
And the naysayers need to just stop. Like you can't pick your schedule, and you can't pick who you face in the playoffs and what happens. Hey, any team would have taken the path New England had. And no fan can sit here and tell me, no, I'd rather play, all the 10 plus win teams in my schedule and blah, blah, blah. And no, come on. If you had New England's path, any team would have taken it. Now, it's not to say that sometimes the easier path is the best path because you don't get tested. But hey, at the end of the day, you roll the dice if that means you're getting to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And as far as that path is concerned, now everyone says like, "Oh, it's easy. Oh, it's easy." As far as Drake May is concerned, the ease factor has really not been that high because he's had to go through three top five defenses. The Chargers, which we made fun of quite a bit this year, but they still had a very aggressive and fast defense. The Texans, who were an incredible defense and kept them afloat until C.J. Stroud figured out what he had to do with his life. At least until the playoffs started, of course.
Hey, he got a haircut. He cut the dreads. He went back to the nice short cropped hair.
Oh,
I think maybe he's trying to roll it back a little.
yeah. And then, of course, Denver's defense, regardless of who the quarterback was, Denver's defense was also a top unit in the league. So, and it's not getting any easier in the Super Bowl because Seattle's defense not only was a top ranked unit, but they have been extremely aggressive in their two playoff games against the Niners and the Rams.
Exactly. But everyone's going to say, "Oh, well, they had an easy path," and they'll sit there and say, "Well, look what C.J. Stroud did. That's not Drake May's fault. He still had to go up against that defense." And let's be realistic. That defense ate against New England, and unfortunately, their quarterback collapsed. Not his fault, but he was able to make some plays when he needed to. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you get there. It's you got there. So everyone's got to give this kid a break, but what he did in the regular season was impressive. Not his fault that those teams weren't great. No one told Drake May isn't the GM of the Jets. He doesn't own the Jets. He doesn't own Miami. That's not his fault. You show up at the stadium and the team that's across from you, that's who you got to beat. So hey, but for them to flip like they did from what last season was, is impressive, regardless of who they played. That's highly impressive. So you've got to give Drake Maye and those guys their due. Now, if they, put up a goose egg and just stink up the game on Sunday, all right, then they ran into a buzzsaw and there it is, and they'll learn from it and move on. But if they end up pulling out a thriller and beating Seattle, you can't complain. You give that kid his flowers.
What I noticed about Drake May very early this season in the Steelers game was he did not play good. He did not play well at all, and he was still able to move past those struggles and keep the Patriots in the game in that one. So I've noticed that as well with these playoff games where the Chargers game was kind of low scoring, but the Chargers were really never in that one. You know, and Houston, as many mistakes as CJ Stroud made, uh, Drake May also had his problems with fumbling as well. So he was not exactly taking care of the ball either. And then the Denver game in the blizzard against that defense, Drake May didn't exactly have a great performance, but he took advantage of the plays when he needed to. So I noticed a theme with Drake May where even if he plays poorly, he can still persist and withstand that performance to lift the Patriots at the finish line.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like he makes a bad play, it's gone. He forgets about it and moves on. But when they need a play from him, he's able to deliver, and that's what you want from your quarterback. You want your defense to keep you in the game, and you rely on your quarterback to deliver when he needs to, and that's what he's done all year. So yeah, he may. I think that was the problem in Buffalo. Josh had the fumbles but couldn't pull it out at the end. Mind you, he had to be the guy all year. Drake Maye I think had a better supporting cast around him than Josh Allen did in Buffalo. But the
Yeah,
difference here, is that Drake Maye literally short-term memory forgets it, but then makes the big play, and next thing you know, New England just chalks up another victory. So
yeah.
I think he's got a short-term memory, and he knows that okay, I had a bad play, got to move on.
And the biggest difference I could say between the defenses Drake May's gone against and Seattle and the challenge that Seattle's defense presents is the fact that we've talked about this a lot over the last couple of years because there's been several teams throughout the league that have great defenses, but they just fall apart. Mike Holzer, a little bit of an example like that. Lord knows the Cleveland Browns are in that. There's a lot of defenses that put together a good unit, and the offenses are just so miserable they can't stay on the field. The defense eventually tires, and offense takes advantage towards the end of the game into the second half. That's obviously been a case through the first three Patriots playoff games because the Chargers couldn't get out of their way. They couldn't get anything going. CJ Stroud couldn't get out of his own way. And then, of course, the Jared Stidham situation. I don't, even with the overall ability of New England's defense, I don't think that'll be the same situation with Sam Darnold. So this could be a situation where Drake May has to go against a top defense, and that defense can stay fresh because Sam's able to do his thing when he's on the field.
Oh yeah, this is one of those things. This is the situation where things kind of fell the Patriots' way throughout this playoff run, and now here you go. Now you've got Seattle. Everyone seems to be 100%, and now it's okay. Now you can't have that situation where you've got fumbles. Your freaking bookends on the offensive line have got to hold up because if Seattle brings the heat and those guys fold, it's going to be a long day for Drake Maye. So it's going to be interesting how New England handles this. Is it going to be a lot of just quick passes and such? Because that Seattle defense is fast and quick, and that secondary is ferocious. I think that secondary, once they really hit their prime, could be better than the Legion of Boom. I really do. So it's going to be a situation of New England having to play smart, going to have to run the ball. The running game is going to have to be paramount, and you're going to have to keep Drake Maye upright and give him plays where he can make the quick pass. He's going to have to run when he needs to, and just got to limit the mistakes.
And we saw we saw I lost my train of thought.
Hey, no problem, no problem. It's the Super Bowl, man. Does it everyone does this.
uh,
Excuse me.
the game, of course, is never only about the quarterbacks. There's obviously a lot of other players on the team as well, and so we go to the ground game, which of these could have a bigger impact because a lot of the time, who can dictate tempo and pace of the game is dictated by who can keep the other offense off the field, especially when you've got two capable offenses like we do here. This should have been a double-headed monster for both, as you alluded before. The Seahawks, of course, have been playing without Zach Charbonnet for a couple weeks now. It's all up to Kenny Walker, and the Patriots are, I guess, technically still a two-headed monster.
Mm-hmm.
Although they've been very slow to work Travion Henderson back in the mix. It's pretty much been the Ramondre Stevenson show. Very much the resurgence of Ramondre Stevenson, as he's kind of up to this season, and really halfway through the season, he looked like mostly a bust.
It's one of those things where I think New England was trying to get Henderson going, trying to see what they had, and felt that if we could get this two-headed monster going, that it would just only benefit Drake Maye and the offense overall. And yeah, there was a point where Henderson had that batch of games where he looked incredible, and then after a while, probably hit the rookie wall, and Stevenson comes back and basically reclaims his starting job. So I think it's going to be interesting how New England deploys them. I think Henderson's going to be more of a receiving back in this game. It may be a point where both of them are in the game at the same time. So I think they're going to try to put Seattle in compromising positions, and I think having both those backs in at the same time very well could do that. But yeah, if both of those guys can actually do something, it'll be definitely good for New England to get Henderson probably started early. I think he's the guy, and then Stevenson could be the finisher. He could be that hammer that finishes the game if they've got a slim lead going into the fourth quarter to chew up clock. It's just can Henderson produce? That's what it comes down to.
The old script from Joseph Adai and Dominic Rhodes in Super Bowl 41.
Oh Lord, here we go.
I had the grips to something. Um,
I remember when.
yes. Um, do you think it was Henderson really running into the rookie wall, or do you think they've just been very slow to bring him back from his injury?
I, the injury maybe a little bit, but it's always the situation of when you've got a guy that's hot, do you yank him?
Mm,
That works for quarterbacks, but in running, I think when it's running backs, it's different. If you've got a running back who you swapped it out, and you've got a guy who's bounced back and he's just doing his thing, you're going to stick with him because he's in a rhythm, he's in a flow. But yeah, the injury could have played a little bit, but now he's on. They're both 100%. Now it's time to put up. So Henderson is probably, I would think, is going to be a little bit more of the receiving back in this game. And like I said, if they can get them both in, they're definitely going to be counted on the block because there's going to be plenty of times that Seattle's going to bring the house. So these guys are going to have to, bring their hard hats because they're going to have to help protect Dre.
yeah, the fresh tires perspective there, like auto racing. Stevenson's tires are hot. Keep leaving that
Yep,
on the track.
exactly. But like I said, those guys are going to, especially in the passing game, are going to have to be able to block because if Drake can't stand up, it's going to be a long night.
I just watched F1 with Brad Pitt. My brain's in a little racing mode at the moment. Um,
Oh, here we go.
um, Now, as far as the Seahawks are concerned, Kenny Walker's very much a dual threat back. What do you think's more important, to give balance to the offense and run more, or to give Sam an extra offense to have a short game as opposed in addition to the deep game with JSN and Cooper Cup?
I think you got to have the balance. You're gonna have, if if K9 starts ripping off long passes, then I think you ride that run game as far as you can and see
Hmm.
what happens, because New England's going to have to honor the run game. They're going to have to, because if not, K9 is going to tear them to shreds. So they're definitely going to have to honor the run game. So I think you're going to have to. I think the first, probably 10 or so plays from each team, you're going to kind of see what they're just going to feel each other out and see, what the defenses are going to give. When it comes to New England, I think that they're going to sit there and say, all right, well, what do we want to die by for? What do we want to die by? Would we rather die by, K9, running the ball on us, or Sam just slinging it across the yard? So they're going to have to pick one. I think they're going to try to stop. They may try to stop the run game and say, "All right, Sam, we're going to force you to beat. You're going to force you to beat us." But the run game is going to be paramount for Seattle. K9 has done great, but when you're basically the only guy, you're going to get tired. So we'll see. Maybe they've got some guys on the bench that can spell him from time to time, but he's going to be counted on to definitely move chains.
And how effective do you think he will be at moving said chains? Because we've seen the Patriots' run defense has been pretty good. They haven't allowed an individual rusher over more than 50 or 60 yards all postseason. Now, you could argue that they haven't necessarily faced one the quality of Kenny Walker, but in any event, they have stood up. So, what kind of effectiveness issues do you see here with Seattle's run game?
Like you said, New England's run defense is stout. I think they would be happy if they kept them 80 yards or less, they'd be content with that.
Hmm.
They're just going to have to they have to get to them. They've got to limit, they got to make sure they tackle. No missed tackles, or very few, and you're going to have to try to stop that and force Sam to into third and sevens, long third downs. If they're getting third and threes, third and fours, K9's gonna play great, but you're gonna have to force them into third and longs and kind of almost nullify the run game.
Yeah, and we'll move on to the coaches now. Um, quite a little, both a little fresh as far as their particular roles in this situation, but Mike Vrabel's obviously got a lot of experience from his playing days being in these games and being in the Super Bowl. So we'll start with Mike Vrabel there first, I guess, since he's a little bit more of the senior resident here.
Mm-hmm.
So what's kind of at stake for his legacy in this game, being that it's his first Super Bowl as a head coach? And normally there is no talk of legacy in that scenario.
I don't. I don't think anything tarnishes it. If he wins it, it adds to it. He becomes, the first guy to play, to coach and play in one and win it. I think that adds to it, but I don't think it tarnishes it. I think what's happened is he's brought New England back to prominence. Now, if you tell me in the next 5 years they make another one or two Super Bowls and they can't win it, then there becomes the problem. It's okay. Now you've become, when it comes to coaching, you've become the bridesmaid, but not the bride.
Hmm.
So I don't think I think right now this kind of enhances the legacy. I don't think it hurts it. If he loses and it's close, it's fine. I think everyone then sits there and says, okay, New England's going to be one of those teams that you're going to have to worry about for next season. But I don't think his legacy is tarnished in that
And
sense.
yeah, and he brings this warm and fuzzy type of persona to the head coaching position in New England. But where I might be able to deal with Drake Maye hosting Lombardi Trophy, and I might be able to deal with Mike Vrabel listening to the Lombardi Trophy, I certainly do not want to see Bob Kraft lift it, especially off of the week that Bob Kraft has had.
All right. Okay. Now this is my I'm really over it. This is ridiculous. Here's the situation. It's the Hall of Fame. It's not the Hall of we tell you whether you're right or wrong or you're a good or bad person. New England was punished for what they did. The league handled that. Now, mind you, some people don't feel that, New England was punished enough. Some people think it was fine. At the end of the day, you go to the Hall of Fame with your credentials and you say, this is what we accomplished. Am I good or am I not? Both of those guys were first ballot Hall of Famers. No
Hmm.
doubt about it. And there are people in the hall who, for whatever reason, felt, okay, we need to lay the final bit of law against these guys and tarnish it enough where no, you'll get in, but then you give us this whole, well, there were other guys who, needed to get in. Like, no, no, no. If I have done all these great things and I deserve to be a first ballot, then you put me in. That's the extra cherry on top of my career. So you did
Hmm.
so you did this. You did this to Belichick. You did this to Kraft. So you're telling me when Tom Brady, when it's his time, are you going to say no, Tom? You can't go in. You're going to have to wait a year. Are you the guys who did this to Kraft and Belichick? Are you going to have the stones to do that to Tom Brady?
Right. It creates a very interesting hypothetical because a player, a coach and a coach and an owner, uh, you may be able to get away with the argument for, but a player is a bit of a different type of animal to tackle.
No, and that's true. But everyone says they're the big three. When you think of the Patriots during that 20-plus-year dynastic run, they were the three figureheads. So you already took two of them down in theory. They probably get voted in next year, but everyone's going to say, well, whatever. It should have been last year. So then, do you do it to Tom? You have to. You have to sit there and put on your big boy pants and be like, well, no, those two guys were Tom is just as guilty as those other two. So no. So and then you know what? You need to put your name on
Well, that's right. It can harm the voters as much as, from one perspective, it can harm the voters' credibility now, but it could also harm their credibility in the opposite direction if they made this stand on Kraft and Belichick and Brady. They don't hold to similar account.
Yeah, because everyone says, they're all, who was more important during the run. People were like, well, Tom was more important than Bill was, but you did this to Bill. If you don't do this to Tom, you guys look like fools. So that's my take on that. It is what it is. And mind you, because you did this, it takes away not only from the Hall of Fame vote for the guys who are going to get in, it's taken away a bit of the Super Bowl because all we're talking about is fact that these two guys who were, you know, first ballot Hall of Famers didn't get in, and we had to hear about it for like literally 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we know that the NFL does kind of pinch pennies as far as they're not like the Springfield Hall of Fame where if you average 20 points for 3 years basketball, they'll just let you in. They'll just let you in with no chips and no playoff success. It's not quite as loose as that, but so we know football does kind of pinch pennies a little bit, but with resumes like the Patriots. Legacy has, it's not exactly one that those aren't resumes to pitch pennies over.
And I know there are guys who need to get it, who should be in there, but it's not Robert Kraft or Bill Belichick's fault that you didn't vote these guys all the years that they were eligible, and now it's convenient for you to put them in when you want to stick it to Kraft and Belichick. Like,
Yeah.
Bob Jones, the long snapper for the Kalamazoo Comets, is finally getting in after being on the ballot for 30 years. Oh, he needs to be in there. Like, come on, man. Really? Really? Like, whatever, guys. But it is what it is, man. You know, I don't know. I just don't get it. And like I said, I'm not an apologist because believe you me, I've got my issues with those two because Robert
They
Kraft, I
kicked
think
Tom
forever.
to the curb.
Yeah, Robert Kraft will forever kick himself because he took Bill over Tom. And Tom said, okay, you don't want me? Went somewhere else and won a ring and basically said, here I am, the greatest of all time. That's what you get. And then Bill basically went down the stinker and now he's dating preschoolers in North Carolina. God bless him. He's doing his thing. I'm not gonna knock him, but that's why he's never gonna probably coach again in the league.
Shout out to Brandon hopping on. What's up, sir?
Brandon, how we doing? How we doing?
Now, the other head coach, of course, is Mike McDonald, also a fresh face in this scenario, but a true fresh face because he does have a long playoff history. And I got a kick out of this because Mike McDonald is someone that he kind of didn't get any fanfare when Seattle picked him to um, succeed Pete Carroll, the long Pete Carroll legacy in Seattle. It was like Mike who? And this is interesting because he's pretty young by head coaching standards, and we see the Sean McVays of the world. So yet again, another very young head coach to take his team to the brink of the promised land.
I like him. He's pretty just nonchalant. He just does his business. He's not fancy. There's no hubbub about him. He came in, told those guys, hey, this is what we want to do. This is how we want to run this team. So let's do it. And that's it. So I give him credit. He's molded this team into a defense. Well, you would think defensive first team, but their offense is so much better than that. But their defense is incredible. And you've got to give him credit. He's been a great coach. No nonsense. Seems like a genuine guy who knows what he wants.
Yeah, they are a defensive identity because of him, but the defense, like you said, is flying under the radar because of how prolific the offense has been.
I don't know if they're flying under the radar anymore. They've got guys on that team. That defense is legit scary, man. Like they're fast, they can cover, they can get to the quarterback. They, like I said, I think they are a better version of the last Super Bowl teams. I really do.
I was going to ask, do you think Mike McDonald's dark side or whatever they're calling themselves is better than Pete Carroll's Legion of Boom?
Yeah, I would. I would think so. And here's the thing, because I'm a sucker for a corner who's tall and can cover left sideline to sideline. That's just my thing. And the Legion of Boom, those mind you, those guys were physical and they would hit. They could cover a bit too, for sure. But I don't know if they could cover as well in today's NFL, even though it was only how long ago? 11, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
The league just constantly changes, but they've got that secondary is so athletic, and they're talented, and they're long. They can cover their whole radius arm wise. They're just crazy. I love them, and I think their D line is great. Their backers can cover. They're just a complete defense, and they play hard and they play fast.
Comparison from Brandon here. Coach Mike reminds me of Belichick minus dating of people 50 years younger than him.
Well, don't forget, Bill didn't start picking up those ladies till he was wait till he was in the 70s. So give Mike some time. He's going to slowly work his way up. Let him get about five, 6 rings, and then there you go. He's showing up at the senior center.
Yeah, and who knows? See, they get their quarterback now after he's been in the league for a few years. They didn't have to deal with, the rookie quarterback coming in and having to pay him right away and then worrying about paying everyone else. They're kind of getting Sam in the middle of his prime. Now they can afford to pay everyone else and then kind of get Sam on the cheap a little bit down the line.
Oh yeah, they're in a perfect situation. Literally, I think they've got that team lined up for years. Now, with the offensive coordinator possibly leaving, I think offensively, I don't know if they take a hit or if they've got a guy in the wings who's going to carry on what they do offensively, but they're stacked. I think they literally probably run the West for at least another 3-4 years because I don't know what the Rams are going to be like. The Niners, I think, are going to slowly start to decline, and Arizona's just Arizona, man. So you let them do what they do. But
And they
I think
finally hired
so.
a head coach this week. They finally hired a head coach.
Yeah, let's wait and see what everybody else does, and we'll take whatever's left. Yeah, okay, Arizona. So I think the Hawks are primed for a serious run.
I do want to get into what you brought up a moment ago, but we love the engagement. Mr. Brandon here apparently is a Seahawks fan and is challenging your statement before. Says, as a Hawks fan, the Legion of Boom is 10 times better.
Now, mind you, the Legion of Boom, they were great, but I don't know. I just love this. I love this secondary. I think they're just dynamic. I think they've just, I don't know. I think they're going to grow into something that's going to definitely challenge what the Legion of Boom brought to Seattle. Now, mind you, incredible in their prime. Cam Chancellor, those guys are great, but I think these guys, if they can, grow and get their, and continue to prosper, they're going to be really good.
They're definitely significantly different because, like you said, as far as the coverage goes, this secondary is more of a coverage unit, whereas the Legion of Boom was very high risk, high reward, turnovers, large hits. They very much sold out for what we typically think of as the highlight plays.
No, Earl Thomas and those guys, they were, dude, man, that was scary. I wouldn't go across the middle. I'd be like, no, man, I'm not touching that. I'm not touching that ball. Good luck with that. Because those guys, yeah, they hit to hurt you. They hit to hurt you, But this current, crop of Hawks, they'll pick it and take it back with ease. So it's exciting. It's exciting to see what they're going to become.
What do you think of that comment? Stafford isn't throwing for 400 plus on the Legion of Boom.
Not this version of Matt Stafford, geriatric, mind you, all the credit in the world of Matt Stafford, taking shots in his back and all, but I think it's just you've got to the Boom. It was just scary, man. They would take guys out, and it's just they were a physical defense. This defense, I think, is a bit physical, but I think they definitely, when it comes to taking chances and scoring on defense, these guys are great.
To your point on Clint Kubiak, rumors confirmed that he will be taking the Raiders job as soon as the Super Bowl is done. I feel like this has happened before, where a Super Bowl coordinator rumored to take the remaining open head coaching position before the games actually kicked off, and I feel like it's backfired in the past. So, is this a distraction for the Seahawks heading into the Super Bowl?
I don't think so anymore. I think back in the day, I think it probably would be, but I think in today's NFL and such, like you what you've got to do. You take your day or two, if you're allowed to interview, you do your thing, and then you're back on the job. And I believe it's one of those things where if a team's like, yeah, we want to hire you once the season's over, let's get it going. All right, you've got a job. This is where you're going after, but right now I got to finish this because this job is what got me to the next step up. So I think he's been in the league long enough. He knows what it's about. He's going to want to go to the Raiders with a ring and say, hey guys, this is what I want to bring here. Let's get it done. I think it just adds to your mystique once you go to the new place.
Yeah, instant credibility walking in the room.
Exactly. It's like, all right, here we go. This guy just got a ring. He wants to bring it here. You're definitely gonna have all those good vibes because we know who you're taking at quarterback. So I don't think it really hinders Seattle's thought process going into this game or preparation.
What? One more comment. I knew it happened before, and I probably should have remembered that it was the Eagles because the Eagles were, of course, the head coaching farm system for a good few years there, as Jalen Hurts had a different play caller every year.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, wait a minute. Does he have a new one this year too? Oh yeah.
Yes, he does.
There we go. There we go.
You wonder
One
why
and
Eagles
done
fans
you.
are so angry. It's not Jalen's fault.
Unbelievable. But yeah, I don't think it affects Seattle and their preparation and for what they've got to do. I think they know, and I think they kind of knew this was going to happen. Like even if they didn't make it to the Super Bowl, that someone was going to take Kubiak. So I wouldn't. I think they're good to go. They're ready to go in and get this game going.
Breaking news at the NFL honors Mike Vrabel named Coach of the Year.
See, look at that, man. Your buddy Vrabes.
My
Your
buddy.
buddy Vrabes. So you're gonna start. You're gonna get yourself a Vrabel jersey.
No, I cannot bring myself to wear those colors. I can't do it. Nope, can't do it. Can't do it. No, no,
You
sir. No,
oh
sir.
so you don't want that Drake Maye jersey for your birthday?
No, 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 no. It'll just
What
collect
about wait a
dust.
minute?
It'll just
What
collect
about
dust.
no? What about the winter one? Now it's not New England colors, but it looks like it's got like that snow color to it. The light blue. You could wear that.
Oh no, actually, I think those jerseys are hideous. I don't like those at all.
You don't like that one? I love
No, I
those
don't
light.
like those. I
I
don't like
like
those.
that. I like that third jersey. I think that's a nice looking jersey. Wow. All right. You just wear your
Fashion advice
you
here on Sunday Scaries. We should do a show just on jerseys.
you go ahead and wear that Anthony Richardson jersey. Go right
Oh
ahead there,
no,
buddy.
no, 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 no. You
No,
send me you
no.
FedEx me one
Folks,
of those that gets set on fire.
folks, if you have any Colts Rock Ya Sin jerseys, please send them. I will put my address on the bottom. Send them to me. I will make sure that Nutmeg gets them because he loves himself some Rock Ya Sin. He thinks he's the greatest Colt ever. Rock Ya Sin.
These lies and fabrications.
Truth hurts, man. Truth hurts.
Well, the truth is certainly that we are about to kick off Super Bowl 60. Bucks McGee, sir, take us off air with your final thoughts as we kick off, as we get ready for the big game.
Wow, this is it. Like I said, almost 6 months, and here we are, Seattle and New England. Wow, basically two teams that could begin a dynastic run. One team could sit there and fix the loss that haunts them for years and years when you should have ran but you passed. Another team trying to get out of the shadow of the greatest of all time. Who knows what'll happen, but it's going to be a great one.